She discovered her billionaire husband's affair from a single strand of hair. What she did next. Beautiful choice. We'll go emotional and dramatic. Her trembling fingers froze above the white marble sink, eyes locked on a single golden strand glinting under the bathroom light. It wasn't hers. And it wasn't supposed to be there. "Who are you?" she whispered, not to the strand, but to the man she thought she knew. Before we dive into this heart-wrenching story of love, betrayal and redemption, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every story here reminds us that even in our deepest heartbreak, healing and second chances still find a way. Broken heart. Now, let's begin. The morning sun spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Whitmore mansion, painting everything in soft gold, the kind of light that made people believe life was perfect inside those walls. To the outside world, Evelyn Whitmore had everything: beauty that radiated warmth, a voice that carried kindness, and the kind of marriage that magazines would die to feature. Her husband, William Whitmore, wasn't just a man, he was a name. A self-made billionaire from Boston whose software company had reshaped industries. His face graced Forbes, his speeches inspired dreamers, and his wife, the elegant black woman always by his side, completed the picture of success. But pictures can lie. This morning, Evelyn moved through their penthouse suite like a ghost. Her bare feet brushed against the cold marble, and even the silence felt heavy. The smell of his cologne still lingered faintly in the air, that clean, musky scent that used to comfort her. Now, it just made her stomach twist. It had been 3 days since she'd found that strand of hair. 3 days since she'd stood in their bathroom, staring at the single golden thread tangled against his navy suit jacket, the same jacket he'd worn to his business meeting in Chicago. A single strand. That's all it took to unravel everything. That night, Evelyn had been folding his laundry, an act of care she'd done out of habit more than love. His suitcase still smelled of hotel soap and champagne. As she lifted his jacket, something caught in the light, a shimmer that didn't belong. Her first instinct wasn't anger. It was confusion. William's hair was dark brown, nearly black under certain lights. The golden strand stood out like betrayal itself. Long, fine. Female. At first, she told herself it must have been a hotel maid's hair. Or maybe static from the plane. Anything but what her heart whispered. But the whisper grew louder when she saw the faint lipstick stain on his white shirt collar, soft coral pink, the kind of shade she never wore. Her breath caught. Her vision blurred. And in that moment her world, the life she had defended for years, cracked like fragile glass. "Mrs. Whitmore, would you like me to prepare breakfast?" came a voice from the kitchen. It was Mara, the housekeeper. Loyal, discreet, always careful with her words. Evelyn smiled faintly. "Just coffee, please. Black." She used to drink it with cream. William's way. But this morning, she wanted the bitterness. The city buzzed below, skyscrapers glinting under the late morning sun. William was already gone. Another early meeting, another excuse. He'd kissed her forehead before leaving, his lips cold, his eyes distant. Once upon a time, she would have believed his tenderness. But after the strand, she'd started seeing what she had ignored for years, the way his phone never left his hand, the sudden business trips, the shift in his laughter, once genuine, now forced. Still, she smiled for the world. She attended charity luncheons, hosted galas, wore diamonds, and played her part as Mrs. Whitmore. But inside, she was breaking. Before she became Evelyn Whitmore, she was Evelyn Brooks, a girl from Atlanta with dreams bigger than her bank account. She'd met William at a tech conference in San Francisco 9 years ago. She wasn't rich then, just a smart, ambitious marketing intern who caught his attention with her poise and ideas. He was older, already successful, and surprisingly gentle with her. He'd pursued her like a storm: flowers, dinners, private jets, promises of forever. When he proposed, she thought she'd found her miracle. He'd looked her in the eyes and said, "You'll never have to fight for love again." But love built on promises can crumble under lies. Later that afternoon, she sat in her dressing room, staring into the mirror. Her reflection looked flawless: glowing skin, elegant curls, pearl earrings. But her eyes were tired. She lifted her phone and opened William's social media. The last post was from his charity event, smiling with investors, holding a glass of champagne. Beside him stood a woman Evelyn didn't recognize. Young. Blonde. Dressed in red. Her hand froze. The woman's hand rested a little too casually on William's arm. Who is she? Evelyn murmured aloud, voice trembling. She zoomed in. The camera flash caught a small gold bracelet on the woman's wrist. Evelyn's chest tightened. She'd seen that bracelet before, at their housewarming party last month. William had introduced her as Camille, our new marketing consultant. Now she felt sick. Her fingers gripped the phone until her knuckles turned white. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong. But another voice whispered, "What if you're just being paranoid? What if he really loves you?" Evelyn closed her eyes. Her heart wanted to believe. Her mind knew better. That evening, William returned home earlier than usual. "Eve," he greeted her with that smooth, practiced smile. "You look beautiful tonight." "Do I?" she asked softly, brushing invisible lint off her silk dress. He nodded, walking to the minibar. "You know you always do." She watched him pour himself a drink, bourbon, 2 cubes of ice. He looked tired but not guilty. That was the worst part. He looked like a man at peace with his sins. Over dinner, he talked about work, new deals, charity foundations, everything but them. At one point, she reached across the table. "Do you ever miss us, Will? The way we used to be?" He hesitated, just for a heartbeat, before forcing a smile. "Of course I do. But this is life, Eve. Things change." Her chest tightened. Do they? Or do people change? His fork froze midair. For a second, their eyes met, and in that silence she saw it. The flicker of guilt. The faintest crack in his composure. Then, just as quickly, he looked away. "Let's not ruin dinner with heavy talk, okay?" Sometimes, the people we trust most hide behind the smiles we love. Have you ever felt that quiet shift, when someone you love starts to feel like a stranger? Tell me in the comments. Would you confront them immediately, or wait until you had proof? Speech balloon. Now let's go deeper, because Evelyn's proof was about to find her. The next morning, while William was away again, Evelyn's best friend Renee stopped by. She'd been Evelyn's anchor since college. Fierce, loyal, unfiltered. "Girl, you look pale," Renee said, dropping her bag on the counter. "You okay?" Evelyn forced a smile. "Just tired." Renee squinted. "Don't lie to me, Evie. You've got that look, the one you had when your mom told you your ex cheated." Evelyn sighed. "It's nothing. Just something I found." When she explained, the hair, the lipstick, the bracelet, Renee's jaw tightened. "You need to find out the truth, Evie. Don't sit around waiting for him to hand it to you." Evelyn shook her head. "I don't want to believe he's that man." Renee crossed her arms. "Sometimes love blinds us to what's right in front of us." Her words stung, but Evelyn knew she was right. That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. The clock glowed 1:47 a.m. William's phone buzzed on the nightstand, a quiet vibration that pierced her chest. She hesitated, staring at it. Then she picked it up. The message preview read, "Speech balloon Camille, miss you already. Counting the hours." Her fingers trembled. Another message appeared seconds later. "Speech balloon Camille, still thinking about last night. You didn't forget the hairpin I left, did you?" Winking face. Her heart stopped. The strand of golden hair. The one that started it all. It wasn't just a coincidence. It was evidence. Tears blurred her vision as she set the phone down, every memory of their love flashing before her, the laughter, the promises, the vows under the California sunset. How could a single message destroy everything she thought was real? That night, Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed, watching her husband sleep, peaceful, unaware that she knew. The love she once felt had turned into something else entirely, a hollow ache filled with questions. But beneath the pain, something new was stirring, strength. And by morning she would decide, she wasn't going to cry anymore. She was going to act. The morning light was cruel, too bright, too honest. It streamed across the bed where William still slept, his hand draped lazily across the pillow that used to cradle her. Evelyn sat at the vanity, fully dressed, staring at her reflection. The woman who looked back was no longer fragile. The tears were gone. In their place was a calmness so sharp it frightened even her. She didn't plan to scream. She didn't plan to throw things or beg for explanations. No, she planned to listen. For once, She wanted to hear his lies out loud, see how easily they came from his lips. Her phone buzzed, a message from Renee. Speech balloon Renee, you good? Speech balloon Evelyn, not yet. But I will be. She slipped the phone into her clutch and glanced at William's reflection in the mirror. His chest rose and fell steadily, like the world hadn't just fallen apart. The betrayal wasn't just the affair, it was his peace. His comfort in deception. Evelyn stood and whispered under her breath, "You don't get to rest while I burn." Downstairs, the kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and buttered croissants. Mara, the housekeeper, smiled nervously when Evelyn entered. "Good morning, ma'am." Mr. Whitmore asked for breakfast on the terrace. "Should I?" Evelyn raised a hand gently. "I'll take care of it today, Mara." "Thank you." The woman hesitated. "Are you sure?" he said. "I'm sure." Evelyn's voice was soft, but something in her eyes made Mara nod and retreat quietly. Outside, the terrace overlooked the city, a glittering skyline built on ambition and arrogance. Evelyn set 2 cups of coffee on the table, exactly how he liked it, strong, 2 sugars. She sat down and waited. Minutes later, William appeared, crisp white shirt, no tie, that effortless charm that used to make her heart skip. He smiled when he saw her. "You're up early. That's a surprise." She returned the smile, thin, polite. "I couldn't sleep." "Too much coffee last night?" He took a sip of his drink and exhaled. "We really need to get away soon. Maybe the Hamptons? You deserve a break." Evelyn tilted her head. "A break? Is that what you call it?" He looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" "The time you spend away, those trips, the breaks." William frowned, the first flicker of unease crossing his face. "Eve, what's this about?" She reached into her clutch and placed her phone on the table, the screen already open to the messages from Camille. He froze. The sound of the city faded into silence. Her voice was calm, almost tender. "I didn't mean to read your messages, William. But your phone wouldn't stop buzzing at 2 a.m., and I thought maybe it was urgent." He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. "Eve, it's not what you think." She gave a soft, humorless laugh. "You're right. I thought you were loyal. Turns out I was wrong." He stood, pacing. "It was a mistake. I swear. It meant nothing." Evelyn's eyes followed him, steady, unflinching. "Then why does she miss you already? Why does she remember last night?" He stopped, his back to her. The silence stretched. Then he said quietly, "Eve, please. Don't do this now." Her voice cracked for the first time. "Don't do this? William, you did this. You chose this." When he finally turned around, his face wasn't the face she'd married. It was someone else, someone defensive, cornered, stripped of pretense. "I've been under pressure," he said. "You wouldn't understand what it's like running a company like mine." She cut him off sharply. "Don't you dare insult me with that excuse." Her words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Evelyn reached into her clutch again and placed something small on the table. A single golden hair. It glimmered under the sunlight, fragile, damning, final. William's breath caught. "Eve." She stared at it, her eyes distant. "I kept it. The moment I found it, I couldn't throw it away. Isn't that pathetic?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're overreacting." Her head snapped up. "Overreacting," she whispered. "You destroyed our marriage, William. You made me question every word you've ever said to me. And now you stand there and tell me I'm overreacting." His jaw tightened. "It didn't mean anything." "Then why did you keep seeing her?" Evelyn's voice broke. "Why did you kiss me every night like nothing was wrong?" He ran a hand through his hair. "You don't understand. Things haven't been the same between us for a long time." She blinked, stunned. "So this is my fault now?" "I'm not saying that," he said quickly, "but the damage was done." The air grew thick. Neither of them moved. Then softly, Evelyn said, "I gave up my dreams for you, William. I turned down a promotion, left my job, and built your charities because you said we'd build a future together. Was that just a lie too?" He looked away. "It wasn't a lie. It just changed. Her voice trembled with fury and sorrow. Love doesn't change. People do. A gust of wind blew across the terrace, sending napkins fluttering. Evelyn stood, gathering her composure. "Do you love her?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer. That silence told her everything. She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her face, not from weakness but release. "Thank you. That's all I needed to know." When she turned to leave, he reached for her arm. "Eve, wait." She pulled back sharply. "Don't touch me." For a moment, his expression cracked, guilt, maybe even fear. But Evelyn was already walking inside, her steps steady. She paused at the doorway and said without looking back, "You built an empire, William. But you forgot the foundation was trust. And when trust breaks..." She turned to meet his eyes. Everything else collapses. Then she walked away, leaving him standing in the sunlight, a billionaire surrounded by glass and gold, yet suddenly utterly alone. In her dressing room, Evelyn sank into her chair and exhaled shakily. Her heart ached, but somewhere deep inside, a spark had ignited. Renee's words echoed in her mind. Find out the truth. Don't sit around waiting for him to hand it to you. Now she had the truth. And she had a choice. She could walk away quietly, let him keep his empire and his guilt. Or she could remind him that the woman he betrayed wasn't weak, she was his equal. And she was done being silent. Narrative pause, introspective tone. Have you ever had to face the person who broke your heart and still keep your voice calm? Would you walk away immediately, or would you make them understand what they've lost? Share your thoughts below. Evelyn's next move will change everything, not just for her, but for the man who thought she'd never stand up. The night after discovering the blonde strand, Evelyn sat alone in her art studio, the one place that had always felt like hers. The walls were lined with unfinished canvases, frozen moments of joy she'd painted in better years. But that night, every brushstroke mocked her. The sound of the rain outside matched the chaos in her chest. William had texted earlier. "Late meeting tonight. Don't wait up." She used to believe those messages. She used to smile, trust him, and pour his favorite Merlot in a glass waiting by the door. But tonight, she laughed bitterly at her own reflection in the rain-streaked window. "Late meeting," she whispered. "Right." The phone on her desk buzzed. It was Isabel, her best friend since college. Evelyn hesitated before answering. She didn't want to cry again, not tonight, but Isabel's warmth had always been her anchor. "Eve? You sound strange," Isabel said softly. "I'm fine," Evelyn lied. "Liar. What's going on?" There was a long pause. Evelyn finally spoke, her voice trembling. "I found someone else's hair in his car. Blonde. Long. And I can't stop thinking about it." Isabel's tone hardened. "You've been suspecting him for months. The trips, the missed dinners, the perfume that wasn't yours." Evelyn's silence confirmed everything. "Listen to me," Isabel continued. "You deserve the truth, not his excuses. Find it. Don't let him gaslight you into thinking you're crazy." Those words stayed with her long after the call ended. The next morning, while William was at work, Evelyn decided to act. Her heart raced as she unlocked his study, a place he'd always kept private, claiming it was full of confidential investment files. She hesitated, then turned the knob. The smell of his cologne hit her instantly, rich, masculine, and painfully familiar. His mahogany desk gleamed under the morning light. Stacks of documents, his laptop, and a sleek leather notebook sat neatly in place. She opened the notebook. Inside were meeting notes, and then tucked between the pages, an envelope. Her name wasn't on it. But inside were 2 theater tickets. The play? A love rekindled, a romantic drama. The date? Last Saturday. The same night William told her he was in San Francisco for a business seminar. Her hands shook as she noticed the faint lipstick stain on one of the tickets. Pale pink, not her color. Her breath caught. And then, she heard the sound of the front door opening downstairs. "Evelyn." William's deep voice echoed through the hall. She froze. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might betray her. She quickly slid the tickets back into the notebook and closed the desk. "In here," she called out, forcing her voice to sound calm. He entered, smiling, that same charming, disarming smile that had once melted her. His expensive suit was crisp, his tie perfectly knotted. But to her, all she saw now was deceit dressed in silk. "You're home early," she said. "Meeting got cancelled," he said casually, setting his briefcase down. "Thought I'd surprise you." She studied his face, the soft stubble, the eyes that used to hold only love. Now she wondered what else they hid. "You've been working late a lot," she began slowly. He smiled faintly, brushing her cheek with his thumb. "Big merger coming up, darling. You know how it is." Evelyn forced a nod. But when he leaned in to kiss her, she subtly turned away. That small motion changed something in the air. William frowned slightly. "Something wrong?" Her voice cracked just a little as she replied, "Nothing you'd want to talk about." He laughed lightly, brushing it off, and disappeared into the bedroom to change. Evelyn stood still, gripping the edge of the desk, every muscle in her body trembling. That night, Evelyn prepared dinner the way she always had: candles, soft jazz, and his favorite steak with rosemary butter. It felt almost cruel, but she needed him relaxed. She needed to see if he'd slip. As he poured wine into her glass, she studied him quietly. "How's the merger going?" she asked. He shrugged. "Stressful. But worth it. You'll see when it's done. We'll finally take that trip to Paris you've been dreaming about." The mention of Paris stung. He always promised Paris when he wanted to distract her. She smiled faintly, masking the ache. "And the new assistant? Claire, isn't it?" His hand paused mid-air, just for a second, barely noticeable, but she caught it. "Oh, Claire? She's new. Still learning the ropes. Why?" Evelyn tilted her head slightly, her eyes steady on his. "Just curious." For a moment, their gazes locked. His eyes flickered, uncertainty, maybe guilt, before he looked away and took a sip of wine. She didn't push further. Not yet. Inside, her heart screamed. That night, after he'd fallen asleep, she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the man she once thought was her forever. The hair. The tickets. The lies. She felt her chest tighten, grief mixed with fury and disbelief. But as tears blurred her vision, she whispered to herself, "I need the truth. No matter how much it hurts." And with that, Evelyn made a decision that would change everything. She would uncover every secret William had tried to hide. Morning came gray and heavy. The storm that had brewed inside Evelyn the night before now lived in the sky above the mansion, thick clouds hanging low over the estate. She stood by the window in her robe, clutching her coffee mug but not drinking. The bitter scent was all she could taste now. William had already left, his car's tires whispering down the driveway just after 6. He kissed her forehead goodbye as if nothing had changed. As if the universe hadn't already begun to crumble between them. Evelyn waited 5 minutes after the sound faded, then turned toward the small home office across the hall. It was time. Isabel had a friend, someone she'd met through her journalism contacts, a private investigator named Marcus Hale. Former cop, quiet, methodical, trustworthy. Evelyn called him that morning, her voice barely steady. He met her that afternoon at a small cafe by the water. "Mrs. Hartwell," he greeted, sliding into the booth opposite her. His eyes were kind but sharp, the kind that saw too much. "You said it's urgent?" Evelyn nodded, slipping a photo across the table. It was of her and William, smiling at a charity gala last winter. "I need to know if my husband is seeing someone else. And I need proof, not guesses." Marcus studied the photo for a long moment, then looked back at her. "That's a serious thing to ask for. Are you ready for what you might find?" Her fingers tightened around her coffee cup. "No," she whispered, "but I need to know anyway." He nodded once. "Give me a week." But Evelyn couldn't wait a week. Her heart already felt like it was breaking in slow motion. 3 days later, Marcus called. "I've got something. You'll want to see this." They met again, this time in his office. Dim, quiet, the faint hum of a ceiling fan filling the silence. Marcus slid a manila envelope toward her. Inside were photos. Her stomach twisted. William, her husband, laughing in a restaurant she didn't recognize. Sitting across from a woman. Young. Blonde. The same color as the hair she'd found. In one photo, he touched the woman's hand. In another, he leaned close, his expression soft, intimate. Evelyn's breath caught as she turned the last photo over. It was from that same night he'd claimed to be at a conference in San Francisco. The theater tickets flashed through her memory like a knife. Her hand trembled. "Who is she?" she managed. Marcus flipped open a folder. Name's Claire Davis. Works at his company. Assistant, promoted 2 months ago. Evelyn shut her eyes. The name felt like poison on her tongue. Claire. "Do you want me to keep digging?" Marcus asked carefully. She opened her eyes again, no longer teary, but sharp, focused. "Yes. Everything. I want to know who she is, what she wants, and why my husband thinks she's worth destroying our marriage for." That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She lay beside William, his breathing calm, his body warm, the same man she'd promised forever to. She turned slightly, watching him in the dim light. He looked peaceful, innocent even. And that somehow made it worse. How long had he been pretending? How long had she been loving a lie? When he stirred and reached for her in his sleep, she flinched away. He didn't notice. At dawn, she got out of bed quietly and went downstairs. The scent of his cologne lingered in the air. She sat by the grand piano, the one he'd gifted her for their 5th anniversary, and pressed a single key. The note echoed through the house, hollow and haunting. Evelyn had spent years building this life. She'd supported his dreams, hosted his clients, smiled through loneliness, and kept their world perfect for the public eye. Now, perfection had turned to ash. The next evening, as they dressed for a charity dinner, Evelyn finally spoke. "Will," she said softly, fastening her necklace, "do you ever think about us?" He glanced up from his tie in the mirror. "What do you mean?" "Whether we're happy. Whether we're still us." He chuckled lightly, crossing the room to kiss her temple. "You worry too much, darling. Of course we're happy. You've given me everything." She looked into his eyes, searching for something, anything real. "And you? Have you given me everything too?" He hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then smiled again. "Always." She smiled back, the lie caught between them like smoke. Inside, she whispered to herself, "Not anymore." That night, after the gala, Evelyn returned home alone. William had claimed he needed to finish paperwork at the office. She already knew better. In her studio, she sat at her desk and began to write. Not an angry letter. Not a goodbye note. A confession, to herself. Maybe love isn't supposed to survive lies. Maybe it's supposed to teach us what we deserve. I gave him my heart, and he gave me a ghost of himself in return. But I will not break. I will find the truth, and when I do, I'll decide if the woman he married still exists, or if she died the moment I found that strand of hair. Tears blurred her vision. She folded the letter neatly and slipped it into her journal. Then she whispered to the empty room, "Tomorrow, everything changes." The morning light felt different, colder, cleaner, as if the world itself knew something sacred was about to break. Evelyn dressed deliberately, her movements measured. A white blouse. Black trousers. A soft gold necklace William had once given her, a small reminder of how love could look like kindness but taste like betrayal. By the time she reached William's office downtown, she'd already rehearsed the conversation 100 times in her mind. But life rarely honored rehearsals. She didn't call ahead. She didn't warn him. She simply arrived. The receptionist blinked when she saw her. "Mrs. Hartwell, I didn't know you were coming." Evelyn smiled gently. "Neither did I." The elevator ride up to the 32nd floor felt endless. Her reflection in the mirrored walls looked almost unfamiliar, composed, poised, but her eyes told the truth. When the elevator doors opened, the first thing she noticed wasn't William's office. It was her. Claire Davis. Young. Elegant. Polished. Her blonde hair pulled into a neat bun, her blouse a shade of soft pink that probably cost more than Evelyn's first wedding dress. Claire looked up from her desk, startled. "Mrs. Hartwell," she said, rising quickly. I didn't expect." Evelyn stopped a few steps away. "No one ever expects the wife, do they?" The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Claire's cheeks paled. I didn't think that I'd find out." Evelyn's voice was calm, almost kind. Or that I'd come here myself. Claire's lips parted, but no sound came. For a long moment, the two women stood in silence, two versions of the same story facing each other. One built from years, vows, and history. The other, from youth, temptation, and lies. Evelyn studied her, her heart heavy but steady. How long? Claire's hands trembled slightly as she clutched her tablet. Mrs. Hartwell, I never meant to. How long? Evelyn repeated softly. Claire swallowed hard. Almost a year. The world tilted slightly. Evelyn steadied herself on the edge of the desk. A year. That meant before the anniversary trip. Before the expansion deal. Before every I love you that now felt rehearsed. She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her voice was steady again. I'm not here to fight you, Claire. You're young. Maybe you believed what he told you. Maybe you thought it was real. But you should know something. Claire looked up, her eyes glassy. Evelyn leaned forward, her tone gentle but firm. When a man lies to his wife, he's already lying to you too. He doesn't cheat for you. He cheats to protect himself. And the day he betrays me, he plants the same seed for you. Claire blinked, tears forming. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. He said things were complicated. They always are. Evelyn's voice softened. But one day when you're older you'll learn, love doesn't have to come wrapped in pain. She straightened, her eyes clear, unflinching. Where is he? Claire hesitated. Conference room. Board meeting. Evelyn nodded once. Thank you. As she turned to leave, Claire whispered, Mrs. Hartwell. I'm sorry. Evelyn paused in the doorway, her back still straight. So am I. The doors opened without a knock. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. William froze mid-sentence, his hand gripping a stack of financial papers. His colleagues looked between them, unsure what to do. Evelyn, he said, startled. What are you doing here? I came to see you, she said evenly. Since you've been too busy to see me. He frowned, gesturing to the others. Gentlemen, ladies, could you give us a moment? They filed out quickly, whispers following them down the hall. When the door shut, silence fell like a curtain. Evelyn walked slowly around the table, fingertips brushing the cold glass surface. It's funny, she said quietly. I used to wait for you to come home. Now I find you everywhere but there. William's jaw tightened. If this is about my schedule. It's not, she interrupted gently. It's about her. His breath caught. She met his eyes, calm, unreadable. Claire. The color drained from his face. Evelyn. I know, she said simply. I know everything. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he exhaled, running a hand through his hair. It's not what you think. She gave a faint smile. You're right. It's worse. He flinched. I loved you, William, she continued, her voice steady but full of quiet ache. Not because of the life you built, not the money, not the name, but because I believed you were a man who still knew what loyalty meant. He stepped closer. Evie, please. Don't, she said softly, taking a step back. Don't call me that. You don't get to anymore. He froze. Her eyes glistened, but her composure never faltered. I'm not here to scream, or to throw things, or to make a scene. I'm here to tell you that I deserve better than being half-loved. And so does the woman you're lying to now. He lowered his head, shame shadowing his features. It was a mistake. Then let it stay one, she said, her voice breaking for the first time. Because if you choose her, you lose me forever. And if you choose me, you'll have to prove you even deserve the chance to try. She turned toward the door. Evelyn, please, he said, reaching for her arm. She stopped, her back still to him. When I found that hair, I thought it was the end. But now I realize it was the beginning, the start of me remembering who I am. Then she walked away. As she stepped into the elevator, her reflection met her again, tired, tear-stained but unbroken. This time, she smiled. If you were in Evelyn's place, discovering your partner's betrayal but facing it with quiet strength, would you forgive and rebuild, or walk away to start anew? Speech balloon, tell us in the comments below. Your perspective might help someone facing the same heartbreak. Evelyn begins rebuilding her identity and independence, while William fights to win her back, and faces the next morning. The mansion felt different. Quieter. Not the calm kind, the hollow kind, when silence is heavier than sound. Evelyn stood by the mirror, brushing her hair slowly. The woman staring back looked older. Not by years, but by truth. She was done pretending. She walked into the kitchen, barefoot, the marble cold under her feet. On the counter sat a note, William's handwriting. Evie, I'm sorry. I need time to explain. Please don't shut me out. She stared at it for a long time, then folded it neatly and dropped it into the trash. She whispered, time's the one thing you already wasted. By noon, Evelyn had packed a suitcase. No yelling. No tears. Just quiet resolve. She drove to her sister's townhouse on the edge of the city, a place full of laughter, paint stains, and realness. Isabel opened the door and froze. Eve? What? I need a place to breathe, Evelyn said softly. Isabel's expression softened. Then breathe here. And for the first time in years, Evelyn did. Back at the mansion, William stood in their bedroom, her perfume still lingering in the air. He'd built empires, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but he couldn't negotiate with the silence she left behind. He replayed her words in his mind. If you choose me, you'll have to prove you even deserve the chance to try. He realized he'd been rich in everything, except the one thing that mattered. If you were Evelyn, walking away from luxury to reclaim your peace, would you take him back if he changed, or keep moving forward? Speech balloons, share your thoughts in the comments. Regret, distance, and the temptation of forgiveness. 3 days passed before Evelyn finally turned her phone back on. The screen filled instantly, 27 missed calls, a dozen messages, one long voice note. All from William. She didn't open any of them. Instead, she scrolled to one simple text. Please meet me. No excuses, no lies. Just us. Evelyn sighed. Her heart wanted to hear him out. Her pride whispered not to. Isabel found her standing by the window. You're thinking about seeing him. Evelyn nodded slowly. I just need to know if he's sorry, or just scared to be alone. Then go, Isabel said. But promise me something. What? Promise me you won't let guilt sound like love. They met at the Botanical Garden downtown, the same place William had proposed 12 years earlier. He was already waiting, suit crisp, eyes tired. Evelyn, he breathed, standing as she approached. You look, she lifted a hand gently. Don't. Not today. He nodded, swallowing hard. I deserved that. They walked slowly down the cobblestone path, surrounded by glass walls and blooming orchids. I don't even know where to start, he said quietly. Start with the truth, she replied. He exhaled. It wasn't love, Eve. It was escape. I was drowning in pressure, and Claire, she made me feel admired again. But it was never real. You're the only real thing I've ever had. Evelyn's gaze stayed forward. Then why risk it? He hesitated. Because sometimes men don't destroy what they hate. They destroy what they don't think they deserve. That silence after his words hurt more than any scream could. She turned to him. And now? I want to earn it back. All of it. Her voice trembled, but stayed strong. Then earn yourself first. I won't rebuild a life with a man who still needs saving. She turned to leave. Evelyn, please. She looked back once. When you learn to love without lies, maybe I'll be waiting. Maybe I won't. That night, she wrote in her journal again. He wants redemption. I want peace. Maybe both can't exist in the same room. But for the first time, her tears weren't from pain, they were from strength. She was learning that forgiveness doesn't always mean return. Sometimes, it means release. If you were Evelyn, facing sincere regret from the person who hurt you, would you open your heart again, or protect your new peace? Speech balloons, share your truth in the comments. Love tested, redemption earned, and the power of choice. 2 months passed. Evelyn had begun a new rhythm, teaching art therapy at a local shelter, helping women rebuild confidence through creativity. Her laughter had returned, soft but real. She no longer checked her phone for messages. She no longer waited for apologies that hurt to hear. Until one afternoon, the shelter director approached her with a hesitant smile. "Evelyn, there's someone here asking for you." Her breath caught when she turned. William stood by the doorway, holding a box of children's paint supplies and looking nothing like the man she remembered. No suit. No bodyguards. Just sincerity. She crossed her arms, cautious. "What are you doing here?" He placed the box gently on a nearby table. "You said I needed to earn myself first. So I started here. I've been volunteering, fixing roofs, running food drives, trying to make things right in ways money can't." Evelyn studied him. He wasn't boasting. He was humbler, quieter, real. "Why tell me this?" she asked. He smiled sadly. "Because you deserve to see the man you believed I could be, even if you never take me back." Her eyes softened. "You're not here to beg?" He shook his head. "No. I'm here to thank you. Losing you taught me more about love than having you ever did." For a long moment, silence filled the room, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It was full. As they walked outside, a little boy ran up, paint all over his hands. "Miss Evelyn, look what I made." He held up a canvas with messy colors and bright strokes that somehow formed a heart. Evelyn laughed. William smiled. And for the first time, they looked at each other without bitterness, just understanding. He said softly, "You've built something beautiful here." She nodded. "And you finally started building something within yourself." They both knew the love between them wasn't dead. It had simply changed. He reached for her hand, then stopped halfway, letting it hover. She looked down at it, then up at him. "I'm not ready," she whispered. "I know," he said. "I'll wait. But even if you never come back, I'll still keep being this man. Because now, I like who I'm becoming." Evelyn smiled gently. "That's the man I fell for. Maybe someday, I'll meet him again." As William walked away, the afternoon sun stretched long across the pavement. Two shadows that once overlapped now drifted apart, but not in pain. In peace. Evelyn stood watching him go, whispering to herself. Some endings aren't about losing love. They're about finding yourself. Healing, closure, and the true meaning of love. 6 months later. The sky over the city was painted gold as autumn drifted in. The world had changed, and so had Evelyn. Her art therapy program had grown beyond the shelter. It was now a citywide initiative. Women from all walks of life came to paint, to heal, to find their voice again. She smiled as she entered the new studio, her dream come true. The walls were splashed with color, the air full of laughter and hope. A small photo hung in the corner, her and William years ago, smiling under cherry blossoms. Not as a reminder of pain, but of growth. That evening, a courier handed her a cream-colored envelope with no return address. She opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter, the same familiar handwriting she once threw away. "Evelyn, if you're reading this, it means I finally stopped trying to find you, and started trying to find me. I left the company. I built a foundation in your name, the Evelyn Grant Initiative, to help women restart their lives after betrayal and loss. You don't owe me forgiveness. I just wanted you to know you changed me. You taught me that love isn't possession. It's permission, to grow, to heal, to let go. If our paths cross again, I hope it's because we both chose peace, not guilt. Always, William." Her hands trembled slightly, but her heart was calm. She smiled, not out of sadness, but gratitude. A month later, at a charity gala supporting her foundation, Evelyn stepped onto the stage to thank donors. As she spoke about resilience, she noticed someone standing at the back of the room, quietly clapping, proud eyes locked on hers. William. He looked different, at ease, centered, humbled. Their eyes met across the crowd. No grand gestures. No music swelling. Just mutual understanding. After the event, he approached her with a soft smile. "Evelyn, you're doing incredible things." She smiled back. "So are you. I heard about the foundation." He nodded. It felt right. They stood in comfortable silence, the air warm between them. Then she said softly, "Maybe we both finally became who we were meant to be." He smiled. Maybe that's what love was supposed to do. They didn't rush into an embrace. They didn't make promises. But as they walked out together under the city lights, it was clear, this wasn't the end of their story. It was a new beginning, built on honesty, respect, and peace. Sometimes, love doesn't return to what it was. It evolves into something purer. If you've ever had to walk away to find yourself, remember this: healing isn't forgetting. It's learning to love again, starting with you. Red Heart. Sparkles, if Evelyn's story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, because more life-changing stories are on the way. Speech balloon.